Minister Michael Darcy, Minister of State at the Department of Finance.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's been a while since I was in these seats.
Always welcome back.
I'm just going to make a few comments before I read my speech, Chair. So people might be interested to know why Department of Finance. Well, in 1933, Department of Finance paid an awful lot of money to purchase the copyright, £1,000. So just putting that into context, that's the equivalent of millions of euros today. £1,000, an acre of land would have traded at that stage for about £3. So the equivalent of something between 200 to 300 acres of land. So that was in 1933. In 1965, the copyright was extended, and the Department of Finance paid £2,500. I was writing down the pound signal and had to stop and think because I hadn't written down a pound signal for so long. So that's why it's the Department of Finance. One of the things I was listening in and out of the debate this morning, one of the things that really struck me most of all from Senator Daly was about the singing of the national anthem. And the number of people who sing it with such pride, but they don't understand the words. And for me, I thought that was actually the most telling aspect of everything that's been said to date. So while we know and understand it's something to be proud of, we don't know what we're proud of in terms of the words and the song. The TD in question, Senator, you're talking about was Osmond Esmond. The Esmonds have a long-standing relationship with Ireland. They were TDs in this House until 1977, unbroken. Prior to that, they were represented North Wexford in Westminster. And indeed, prior to that, they represented their constituencies, which was Wexford in Grattan's Parliament and Parliaments before that. They came over with a fella some people would have heard of, over on a boat from Pembrokeshire, a gentleman by the name of Richard de Clare, Strongbow. So they were in the first boat from Pembrokeshire with Richard de Clare in 1169. And I know them quite well because they're in my parish of Collinearnas where their base was. But I just want to correct the record. Osmond Esmond was elected a TD for Cumann na Gael, but he currently, at that stage when that conversation arose, was not a member of the Cumann na Gael party. He was part of the Joe McGrath National Party at that stage. He subsequently didn't stand in the first election 27, but stood in the second election 27 as a member of Cumann na Gael and was elected. So just a few bits of history. Yeah, and that's good as well. So just a few bits and pieces, Chair. The Department of Finance is very proud of its long association with the national anthem, having acted as the unofficial custodian of it since the purchase of the copyright of the music and the English lyrics of the Soldier's Song on behalf of the state in 1933. Indeed, as a modest expression of our pride, Paddy Carney was one of the figures we chose to honour recently when naming the various conference rooms and corridors of our main offices in government buildings. As such, I am glad of the opportunity to contribute to today's discussion, and I sincerely hope that the constructive engagement with the committee and the various stakeholders that have gathered here will result in a useful outcome for all concerned. To turn to the substance of today's discussion, I hope that the written response to the consultation process that my department have prepared for the committee has proven useful in setting out our position on the matter. I would like to take this opportunity to highlight elements of our response concerning some of the specific questions raised by the committee in the consultation paper. As I've noted, the copyright of the music and English lyrics of the national anthem, held by Patrick Heaney and Paddy Carney respectively, was purchased by the Department of Finance on behalf of the state in 1933. Changes to copyright law meant that it was purchased again in the same manner in 1965. In line with domestic and European copyright legislation, the state's claim to the copyright of the music and English lyrics of the national anthem expired 31st December 2012. The original intention for purchasing the national anthem was to allow it to be freely played without the collection of royalties. This has remained a principled position of the department throughout the period of its custodianship of the copyright. Upon its expiration on 31st December 2012, The Department felt that considering the anthem was in the public domain, that it was freely available, and that fees could not be charged for its use, the original policy intent in purchasing the copyright would appear to have been satisfied, with Aaron Naveen freely available to be used since January 1, 2013. This legal status is a common legal status internationally. Many countries, including the US, France, and the Netherlands, allow their national anthems to reside in the public domain in this manner. In addition, I would not agree with the attempt to extend the copyright of the national anthem so as to bring it back under control of my department. Any such move would run contrary to both national and European copyright legislation. Last year, my department received legal advice from the Attorney General on this issue, which indicated that passing legislation to extend the state's copyright over the national anthem would not stand up to legal scrutiny. As such, from my perspective, I believe the national anthem's current legal status is appropriate, both in relation to the original intentions for the purchase of its copyright by the department and in accordance with best practice internationally. To turn to issues concerning the treatment of the anthem, I am fully aware and appreciate the important symbolism attached to our national anthem. It is one of the most important symbols of our state, an internationally recognized means of demonstrating our national pride, whether being used for official state visits, to inspire our sports people, or to celebrate the win of our athletes, with even its informal use across Ireland and around the globe serving to bring people of Ireland together. However, I would be concerned that several of the other suggestions raised in the consultation document with the admirable purpose of protecting our anthem could unfortunately prove to be counterproductive. Despite the good intentions behind such suggestions, it could be argued that any attempts to restrict its use or introduce statutory penalties for its misuse could attract unnecessary tension and public ire. This could result in the anthem being disparaged or demeaned for political reasons, or to make a point regarding free speech, particularly in relation to its use for parody or satire. Given the symbolism attached to the national anthem, I fully understand and sympathise with the concerns of individuals pertaining to its general mistreatment or use in a derisory or disruptive manner. However, to date, it is my view that it is regularly treated with the appropriate respect. It goes without saying that the vast majority of Irish citizens have the utmost respect for our national anthem, while the instances of controversy concerning its use over the last few decades have been few and far between. Since the anthem came out of copyright in 2012, there does not appear to me to have been any strong evidence of its use in a derogatory fashion, with both the court of public opinion and good sense of the people at large coming together to ensure that this is the case. I feel that it would be very difficult to properly define inappropriate use of the anthem. It may also be difficult for such restrictions to be constitutionally valid, unless they were solidly justified and infringed as little as possible on freedom of expression rights. Similarly, I fully understand the desire of the national anthem not to be used for commercial purposes. Given its symbolism and meaning to the Irish state and the majority of its citizens, the desire to prevent such a symbol being used to advance a commercial project or business is understandable, particularly if it were to be used in a distasteful fashion. Of course, taste is naturally subjective, and given my belief that the national anthem should remain within the public domain, I would not be in favour of any restrictions on its commercial use. I am aware that there have been isolated incidents of its use for advertising purposes in recent years, and those incidents of this nature may indeed occur again in the future. However, I must once again state my belief that the court of public opinion and general respect that the vast majority of citizens give to the national anthem would be sufficient to discourage its use in this manner, especially given the potential for negative public reaction or a backlash of such use. In addition, defining what would constitute commercial use or advertising purposes would be very difficult, and doing so may have further unintended consequences, such as unduly restricting its use in recordings made for charitable purposes. Just one example. Nevertheless, while my issues with attempting to resolve these points in legislation are quite clear, I can certainly see the good intentions behind them. To this end, were a consensus to emerge from the committee's deliberations that additional criteria were required in order to protect the national anthem, the suggestion that guidelines be prepared and published on its use would appear to be the most balanced approach to take at this juncture. Setting out the criteria that we believe are best practice for the suitable treatment of the national anthem and putting them on a more formal footing through official guidelines could have positives for its future treatment. Such guidelines could take a similar form to those issued by the Department of Taoiseach for the use of the national flag. They could contain non-binding protocols and suggested treatment for the anthem, with the aim of formally setting out the unofficial social conventions that are currently observed regarding it. If the text of such guidelines were to be agreed upon through an open process such as this, involving the range of relevant stakeholders that you have invited today to participate today, I believe that well-rounded and sensible criteria would emerge. These could consequently be considered by the government for adoption as non-binding guidelines for the usage of the national anthem. The usefulness of this exercise could be complemented by incorporating an official designation of the Irish and English words and the sheet music of the anthem that can currently be found on the Department of Taoiseach's website as the accepted version of the national anthem. To conclude, I hope I have outlined my position regarding the national anthem and my department's historical relationship with it. Generally, attempting to extend the state's copyright over the national anthem is not legally feasible. Similarly, drafting legislation to give the anthem explicit legal protections is an exercise that would be fraught with unnecessary risk and unintended consequences. The goodwill of the people by and large ensures that our national anthem is treated with the respect that it deserves, which all national anthems deserve as symbols of state. Drafting guidelines governing best practice for the use of the anthem is a variety of circumstances may help in ensuring that this respect is codified, and such a document could be considered by government. Overall, I would like to extend my goodwill to the members of the committee, and we wish you well in producing a final report. Just to conclude, Chair, for me as somebody who loves the history of our national emblems, I think it's important that we don't go too far in this also. To me, it's important that people are educated and informed about our national symbols, that people are prepared to bring themselves up to a point where they know what the words in the national anthem actually mean and aren't just proud because it's our anthem, and understand the symbolism and the thought process behind our national anthem. So the anthem was written in 1910, translated in 1917, subsequently understood to be our national anthem. And then when the Irish translation became popularised and that people know and understand it, I want to touch upon just two final aspects. I'm always concerned when people become too proud or too attached to symbolism. It's not a good thing. And sometimes people become overly nationalistic, and fervently so. That is never a good thing. So there's a space that to me shows the respect that we have for our national anthem. And I'd like to get to that space that people are informed, educated, and they're intelligent about it, and they know and understand its history and its genesis. I just want to finish on one aspect of it as well, in terms of the first line and the usage of the two words, Fianna Fáil. My understanding is that is the original translation, and it should be left so. It shouldn't be changed to anything else beyond what the original translation was. And I'm taking a very cold, objective view about this. Should it be changed? It shouldn't be changed. And just to conclude on one thing, it's probably the GAA who have brought the national anthem to the point of where it is, where it was sang All Ireland Day and Leinster final days, and going back to the period before television, the period of radio, and the Artane Boys Band, and people understand they understand the music. The lyrics are rarely, if ever, sang on All Ireland Day. So people understood the music before the words. And I would like to see, one of the things that I would really like to push very strongly is that people understand the English words as much as they understand the words Australia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. That's very helpful. You've clarified a few matters.